It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Greetings, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I am your host today. We are stepping into our second hour. Appreciate you joining with us. I'm going to talk about, in this segment and in the next, a couple of issues which are paramount for America to recognize so that you are educated and informed. Then you can take that education and information and you can act. Yesterday, it was announced that the IRS is unable to account for $67 million that was set up as a slush fund to establish and implement Obamacare. Already, it starts. They're unable to account for $67 million. Now, we've become so numbed to dollar figures. When we hear 67 million, people say, well, come on, what the heck is that? That's the rounding error on the Senate's lunch bill. That's the tips that they paid for the catering. $67 million. $67 million. Think about that for a moment. That $67 million wasn't theirs to steal. It was ours. And if your belief is that a little theft is okay, then you are lost to us as a patriot. If I came to your home and there was gold jewelry sitting on your counter, and I merely took one bracelet in the hopes that you wouldn't notice, would that make me less of a thief? Would that make your ire and anger any less at the betrayal of me, someone you trusted, someone you invited into your home? Of course not. If you handed me $100 and said, I want you to go to the store, and all I've got is this $100 bill, so go to the store and buy these things on this list, and when you come back, please bring me the change. If I came back and I only gave you a portion of the change and was unable to account mysteriously for $67, am I not a thief? And if I would steal 67, would I not steal 6,700? Would I not steal 67,000? Have I not betrayed you? It's not the amount, ladies and gentlemen. It's the betrayal. The money was given to the IRS to enforce tax provisions, enforce against you. The fund, which totals over $1 billion of taxpayers' money, was supposed to be used to roll out the enforcement mechanism of 50 new taxes. So not only was this $67 million, it was $67 million that you contributed for your own persecution and oppression. You sorry fool. According to this report, quote, specifically, the IRS did not account for or attempt to even quantify $67 million from the slush fund of indirect ACA costs that were incurred from fiscal years 2010 to 2012. ACA is the inaptly named Affordable Care Act. The report found several abuses also in addition to that, including specifically, quote, we identified 38 IRS employees in 2 judgmentally selected business units. Not quite sure exactly what they mean by judgmentally selected, whose travel was charged to this fund in fiscal year 2012, but no portion of their salary or their related benefits was charged. In short, the IRS wasn't making sure that employee travel reimbursements had anything to do with the money that they were drawing from this fund. And this is certainly not the first time that employee travel in the IRS has created a problem. The total slush fund spending cost the taxpayers the equivalent of 1,272 new full-time IRS agents. And yet, the agency has requested literally thousands upon thousands of new employees. They just burned and stole 1,272 of them. How dare they ask for more? So when confronted by the Inspector General, this was their unbelievable reply. We agree that we will comply with your recommendations as you made in the report. Unfortunately, the slush fund money has been fully spent and it is empty. So what's to comply? How can you comply with a recommendation when the source of the recommendation no longer exists? So when you confront me with handing you back your change, minus $67, or you confront me with the fact that I lifted that gold bracelet out of your gold collection, and you say, if you want to continue to earn my trust, you must return to me what was mine. And I say, well, I will continue to do that in the future. But I sold the bracelet and I spent the money. Are we still friends? What should your response be? The IRS should be dismantled, abandoned, and utterly, without remorse, destroyed. They are a weapon of mass destruction in the hands of an administration who utilizes their power and their authority like a king uses an executioner, like a monarch uses a jailer. there are many ways that we can legitimately fund the legitimate minimal needs of government. No, not the unbelievably exorbitant, abusive spending of government, but the legitimate needs. Our federal government should be microscopic in its size. Our state governments should be miniature in size. We should be having to look for them with magnification in our lives. And we should be left alone to be self-governing and self-reliant and responsible for our own actions. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the American ideal. Not to be coddled or enslaved. Not to be drained of our resources and discarded as so much waste material. We know and see the abuse that's given to us every day by not only the government in general, and it's not just this administration, folks. Please do not make the mistake of thinking that this is exclusive to the Obama administration or has anything to do with a dislike for this particular usurper in chief, the illegal alien who has commandeered our nation and the office of the President of the United States. I dislike the man intensely. I dislike everything he stands for. But he is only the last in a long line of traitors. He is the runner in a relay race who has been handed the baton time after time after racer. The only difference between the previous traitors and this one is he can see the finish tape. And the world is aware of it. The world is plainly knowledgeable about how far down the rabbit hole we've gone. The outrage by foreign nations against the NSA is so blatant and apparent that it's not just Americans who are unhappy with our government, it's every other government in the nation on the planet, who, for all intents and purposes, find that they are victims also. Yesterday, it was revealed that the NSA has actually planted bugs in the missions of eastern India, in both D.C. and in the UN. Now, these bugs were not normal. They weren't just listening bugs. These were highly sophisticated devices which not only bugged their telephones and their computers, they actually copied the entire hard drive. Now, if the truth is what our government tells us about the NSA and its spying and all the rest of that, if that were really the real truth and motivation for all of the betrayal and the treason that we see going on around us, if it was really all about fighting terrorism and protecting America, how does blatantly bugging our friendly neighbors, our allies, how does bugging their embassies and their consulates, how does capturing and undermining their authority, their own sovereignty, how does that figure into the equation? You see, what's become the truth is that the United States of America and the current government in place is the global terror. We are terrorizing our allies. We are terrorizing our friends. We are terrorizing our own people. We are terrorizing our people with the NSA itself, with the IRS. These are, ladies and gentlemen, crimes against humanity and crimes against the United States and the people within it. These are weapons of mass destruction. Why do I say that? Well, look, even the most obtuse supporter of this administration who says, well, I got nothing to worry about. I don't care if they listen in on my telephone calls. I mean, what do I talk about? They have missed the mark. I'll tell you why it matters what you talk about. Because when people know they're being listened to, it changes everything about their interactions. It is affecting our social and our society. It is affecting our conversations. It is affecting every aspect of our intercommunication amongst ourselves. Want proof? I'm going to give it to you. Go out there and go to a dinner with some friends and grab your cell phone and set it on the counter. Set it up on the middle of the table. Push the candle out of the way and the sugar bowl out of the way and plant that phone right in the middle of the table. And then say, for the record, folks, the NSA will be monitoring the remainder of our dinner. And tell me the conversation doesn't change tone and tenor. When we are afraid to speak to each other openly across a telephone line, when we are afraid that someone is listening into our conversations, listen, you don't need me to prove it. The next time you go to a bachelor party or a bachelorette party, bring a video camera and say, I'm going to record these goings on, just so everybody knows. And watch the life go out of the party. You ever hear the phrase, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas? We are entitled as Americans to be secure in our property, to be secure in our persons, to be secure in our personal effects. And our personal effects includes our computers, our telephone calls, our emails, our communications. It includes our discussions. Unless you be foolish enough to believe that information cannot be twisted or used against you, taken out of context in some way, you're a fool. The simple answer is this. The proof is in the pudding. Think about it. You see, that's the problem with Americans. We never play to the tape to the end to find out what are the unintended consequences. That's what critical thinkers like you do. So let's play it out for a moment. Let's think about this. You see, the way the NSA works is that when you are communicating with someone else, they're capturing both sides. And so all it takes is one person who is on a suspicion list. And that person, let's say, runs a legitimate business, but runs it as a front for the collection of funds that goes to an enemy group, foreign or otherwise. And that person, in the course of their legitimate business front, communicates with their suppliers and their vendors and their potential customers. And you're either a customer or you're a supplier or you're a vendor or you're 2 and 3 times removed, but ultimately at some point have some communication with them. And because they are under suspicion, now you, as a member of their sphere of influence, you are now under suspicion. And then everyone that you communicate with is also under suspicion as a result of your communication with them. I wrote a piece on our website, and you're welcome to go look it up. And it talks about, have you ever heard the game, the discussion about, or the game people used to play, 7 Steps to Kevin Bacon? It's a game where people used to say, well, within 7 steps, I can take anybody and connect them back in some way, shape, or form to Kevin Bacon. Well, that's an old game, folks, and it's true. There's 6 degrees of separation between anything and anyone. And with the massive expansion of the police state in the United States of America, every American should be aware of just how dangerous and harmful it is when dossiers are being developed and stored on every citizen. Whether they believe themselves to be under the current suspicion or not makes no difference, because the people who are within your sphere of influence are already there. And that makes you one of the birds of a feather. Those who believe themselves exempt because I don't do anything wrong are being intellectually dishonest about the risk that they have exposed. To go one step further, what difference does it make to you if someone else within your family or your close friends turns out to be someone of interest? If you communicate with someone who communicates with someone you don't even know, who also communicates with someone else, again, whom you don't know, who also communicates again with someone else, unknown to you, that is an actual target, you are now in the circle of targeted people. And then everyone with whom you communicate spreads the virus. You see, the whole point here is this is how they justify developing dossiers on every American. Because it's not long until everyone is a legitimate target. Based simply upon the separation, the 6 degrees of separation model. Please don't be naive enough to believe that the NSA isn't aware of the model. The entire dragnet infrastructure that we currently live under is predicated upon it. So the NSA says to us, we don't target Americans directly. But if you're connected in any way with anyone, anywhere, who is targeted, your data is vacuumed up for storage and later dissemination and review, just like theirs. Even when you don't do anything wrong. You've been listening to America's Voice Now. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Second Amendment betrayal out of our Senate and the interest on the debt. The sword of Damocles is hanging over our heads. And when it drops, it will destroy us. You're listening to America's Voice Now. We'll be right back.